Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're at in the world. We want to thank you for being a part of what we got going on today. We got Brandon Taylor here. He is EDM Raised.
Yeah.
If you don't know, that means Everyday Miracles. That means there was a road to recovery that he is currently on, that he started, and that he is progressing through on a daily basis. And we're going to talk to him about his road to recovery, being EDM raised. What does that mean? You may be familiar with him. It was a little colder then, so he probably had on more layers. You know, he was here with his crew earlier this year, and they were talking about EDM raised. But we wanted to give him a chance to kind of expound on his road and his life and his story, and make sure that you got a chance to meet him and his fullness, and that hopefully you guys can go out and support EDM Raised individuals at Everyday Miracles, and they have an office on Pleasant Street in Worcester, Massachusetts.
25 Pleasant.
Yeah, 25 Pleasant Street in Worcester, Mass. So we want you guys to listen and learn, because he has a story to tell, and we want to introduce you. What's up, B?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. How you doing today?
I'm all right.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to the people. Tell them a little bit about your beginnings. Were you a Central Mass person, or were you a cat out of the bean, or you wasn't
Yeah.
even from this
So-
type area?
I was born 1969, right when things started getting back together, because where I grew up in on the line of Roxbury and Dorchester.
Mm-hmm.
And up the street was Grove Hall, and there was a lot of when I started getting the clue of where I was at or where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of civil rights movement going on. You had the Mau Mau's, you had the the 5%ers, and you
Okay.
had there was a lot of stuff going on. You had the Islam, you had
the
Muslims.
FOIs
It was in one small area, and it was a lot of stuff. I remember one time my uncle told me about a bank robbery,
Mm-hmm.
and the banks weren't giving money to homeowners,
Okay. Yeah.
and they went up in there and they robbed the bank, and the cops surrounded the building.
Yeah.
So one dude came out. I don't know how true it is, but my uncle told me one guy came out, and
And this is in the Bean. This
yeah,
is
this
in
is
Boston.
this is in Roxbury, in Grove Hall.
Yeah.
There's a bank. Well, it's a church now, but it used to be a bank. And dude came out and said to the cops, he said, "You got wives, you got children. We do not care. You surrounding us. We are stuck in this place. We're gonna go at it. We're gonna give you 5 minutes to get it together." And he went back in the building. Slowly but surely, one car at a time, kept going. Just took off.
They just left.
And they just left.
Because nobody wanted to know that they had people who were basically dead men walking, coming out their building.
Back then, it was a lot of Muslims
Yeah.
that would, really real strong people in that area. There was a street or a mosque that was on Interville Street,
Mm-hmm.
and they made a really serious statement on that street, and that street got a lot of history.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So after that, I moved to Mattapan.
Yeah.
My mother got married. She got divorced. So we ended up in Mattapan, and my mother came to me on my 12th birthday. She said to me, "Here's your cake. By the time you're 17, you need to have a job. You're the man of this house right now." And prior to her telling me that,
Yeah.
I seen a movie called Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah, and there was a kid Noodles.
Yeah.
And I said, "All right, Mommy, that's what I went." So she asked me, she said, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" I said, "Oh, Mommy, I'm going to be a gangster." And I really meant that.
Yeah.
Because I thought that if this kid can,
Can take it to where
can
he
take
took
it where
it
he
from.
took it, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so at that time, man, I just was like just making sure my family was straight,
Right.
because I didn't
And
want...
that was your
Yeah.
into the world.
Into the world, right there.
That was your
So
entry.
the guys that are on the corner with the boom boxes, I was there. The guys that was in the alley on the side, I was there. So I grew up around a lot of older guys.
Okay.
And I gotta, back then there was this immigrants were coming in.
Yeah.
And this group of immigrants were Jamaicans.
Okay.
And they had a drive. They wanted to get nothing but money. And they flooded Mattapan like anywhere you go. Jamaican
with the Jamaicans.
They own stores, they own
cleaners,
ice cream. They
everything.
had it going on there.
Mm.
And I used to go to this park called Norfolk Park, and I remember dude named Jamaican. Well, we called him Jamaican Steve, and he was like, "Yo, you want to make some money?" And I said, "Yeah." And he showed me how to sell weed. And then there was a argument between him and another guy. They called him Harry Hippie.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Hippie was running all of them.
Okay.
And so he came to me one day. He said, "Yo, you know what? You know all this problem is because of you?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "From now on, I'm going to call you Mecca." And so for a while, that was my name for a while.
Okay.
Mecca. And the reason why he said that, he says, because you got so much going on. You got the girls over here.
Yeah.
You got these dudes asking you this, and then everybody saying you want to know about you. You got all this going on.
Too much attention.
Yeah.
You taking away from the dawn.
So that's what, more or less. Because down the road, yeah. Anyways.
Right. All right. So let's veer into you selling weed, but how did you get to being the user?
So, as time went on, I was always by myself. I never let my family know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
On one side, I was the quiet one. I lived a double life. I did, as long as my sisters and brothers were fed and eating, it was all right. We had lost our apartment, and we ended up moving into my grandmother's house.
Okay. How did that work out? Was that like a crowded situation, or
yeah,
that was?
It was so dysfunctional. It was so dysfunctional. So me and my brother would be in the streets. I had a family, but we didn't have a family.
Right.
The family that we did gravitate to was in the streets. Right. And so the kids that we went to school with, sometimes that it was just too hectic at the house. We'd sleep over our friend's house. They didn't know what was going on.
Right,
with us,
And it didn't even matter if they did though.
Yeah,
They still couldn't do nothing to change nothing.
And they was going through the same mess too.
Right.
So no, for real. That's why we end up. I told you that's why sometimes we end up in the hallway.
Yeah.
Drinking brews and we're not making money, whatever.
Because everybody was out the house.
Yeah. And so we had this one guy. His name was Walt.
Mm-hmm.
Big up to Walt. Call him Walt. Now he got his own record label and everything.
Big
He's
up
doing
to
real
him.
good.
Good for him.
And he used to always have a big radio box, and we used to listen to music, man. One of my favorite groups, man, was BDP.
Boogie Down Production with the man KRS-One, the teacher.
Yeah, the teacher, and man, we just vibed out on that.
That's what's up.
And so one night, as we're in this money making and everything, and this is back in the '80s when crack cocaine hit bad. You can get an 8-ball almost for $70 back then.
That means that's cheap. It's a low price to those that don't know.
And if you know the guy, you can get him
3.5 grams for $50.
Yeah, $50.
And was it coke or was it crack?
It was real crack.
Okay.
It was crack.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bringing them into a whole new era because I was dealing with the Jamaicans, and then to find out these Jamaicans were what do you call it, the shower posse.
Yeah.
They was migrating over here, so I'm dealing with these dudes don't got a clue
what they really do.
Yeah, what
how
they really
get
do.
Down.
And it was Yeah, I did not know. I was like, damn, dude. Now I understand why y'all got all these guns. You know,
'Cause they had war back
They
home.
had guns. They had guns. I never seen. I had one of these guns. He had. He just turned the clip and he loaded already. I'm like, whoa. But anyways.
These are the stories in his road to recovery.
Yeah.
It's a journey, y'all. I told you, it's a journey.
So, anyways, we're making money, man.
Yeah.
And these Cubans, they get into where we was hanging at. They moved into the apartment. Now, they started making money.
Mm.
We didn't say too much about it.
Right.
Then one time, it was government altercation. And one of my guys, what we didn't want to happen,
Mm-hmm.
he ended up robbing one of the Cuban dudes.
Okay.
All right, that was.
That didn't.
He just robbed him, and that was that. But animosity started happening. It started building, and we didn't like that they was there and they was starting to get money because they had the
powder.
Yeah, they had that.
They had the power.
Oh yeah, they had the real good stuff. They had that mighty whitey.
Yeah.
That's what we call it. They had that mighty whitey. And he used to laugh at me. I thought I was the man. They was like, nah, they got that mighty whitey, yo. What you gonna do?
So how did you transform?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
So one night we up there, we getting money, and this user came up, and he's like, somebody beat me. We all knew who it was. My man Paul. But you're not talking about him.
Right.
And my brother grabbed him from behind in a headlock.
Mm.
The Cubans came out, started yelling, and because of the feud was going on and building, he said, he started shooting down the street. Now,
shoot.
I said, yo, forget that. Forgetting, stop shooting at them. Let's deal with this dude.
Yeah.
So I remember him cocking the gun back,
Mm-hmm.
coming over. My brother's behind the dude in the headlock with a,
got him in the headlock.
Yeah, full Nelson, matter of fact.
Okay. Got him hemmed up.
And my boy come over, smacks him. The gun go off. The bullet hit my brother.
Oh no.
Yeah. So at the height of my life, man, that really hit me hard. I never seen a man's eyes turn gray.
Mm.
And I kept telling him, don't go to sleep, He closed his, no, he didn't close his eyes. I had to close him for him because I knew he was gone, and gun shootout still going on and whatever. All I'm just focusing on my brother. I tell my mother what happened, and after that happened, I just went numb. I became my best customer.
Mm. So
my best
when
customer.
you were your best customer, how did the people that gave you the work look at you?
Well, I had customers.
Yeah.
The money wasn't the it. All I had to do was just step and go grab it, and that was that. But I was so numb. I remember one night, I had a lot of coke on me. I had a lot. And my man called me up and he says, I want you to hold some stuff. That's how I ended up. I said, all right. And I was at this prostitute's house.
Mm.
My plan was just to, make some money or whatever. It was nothing to do anything. Just wanted to get money. And as the money ran out, now I look like food to them. And you understand what I mean? Well, you got all the coke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but the chick, she was looking pretty good.
Yeah.
She was not no bum,
whatever. Yeah.
And she was like, let me get, let me get,
Right.
we'll
It's
even
an exchange.
trade. Yeah, And she's like, yeah. And so after that, we did that, and she said, won't you try some? So you never tried any of that? I said, no, I ain't. That's not my thing.
Right.
She said, have you ever tried any of it? I said, try it. You might like it.
Mm.
But I didn't know. I was
Right,
curious
right,
anyway.
right. She got you open.
Yeah, you know, and I had nowhere to go. I thought it was going to just be a hit, and that'll be that.
Right.
Boy, ooh.
Still chasing that shit.
I
Huh?
was chasing it for about 15 years. Went into a party, never came back out. For 15 years, I was in that party, in that same circle, that vicious circle at that. And oh man,
What was the consequences for your actions on
my
recent
addiction.
right then? Like was there an immediate consequence for you smoking? Like the cats was like, yo man, we gotta cut you off. You can't be fucking
Well,
around.
it was I
Or
mean,
everybody was fucking around.
no, it was nothing like
Okay.
that. I mean, I had enough crew of people,
Yeah.
and the stuff was mine.
Right.
I would just go re-up. That's how much money I was making.
Right.
You know, they would give me stuff, you know, and that night, I didn't mess it up, the money, you know what I'm saying? But as time went on, you know, I
Out
started
of the
smoking my
15
own.
years.
Yeah, and then it just, I remember walking down in the combat zone in Boston with one slipper on, waving $18 in my hand like this, telling, yo, let me get one. Going down Washington Street.
Wow.
That's how bad it got for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, I was dealing with a lot of pain.
And that's just one of the stories of
Yeah,
the pain
that,
you was
oh my
going through.
goodness, man. I mean, I remember I did a lot of running down in combat zone.
Mm.
And I remember I robbed this guy, you know.
For those that don't know, the combat zone was
Yeah.
a part of Boston area,
Yeah,
downtown,
yeah,
Fremont, all of that area.
Yeah.
And it was notorious.
Yeah,
It
you
was
see everything. You
notorious.
can see girls getting out of the car butt naked, talk about, well, you know, let me get the next one. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. So, anyways, I remember the guy says to me, you know, I robbed the guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't see the guy coming that I robbed.
Okay.
I went and caught, go my way, and the guy's behind me. My man sees him, and he catch up. And, you know, my man didn't react enough yet, really, you know. And I went to bend down for whatever the reason is, and my man leaped.
Mm-hmm.
And the way how matter of fact, I was drunk, and the way how I bent down, it could have hit me in my neck. And he
What?
saved my.
He had some type of thing with
Yeah,
him.
he had a stick.
Okay.
And it could have hit me in my neck, and my man just stopped it. It hit my man across the back.
Okay.
You know, incidents like that. More than that, I remember getting hit in the head with a bottle.
Yeah.
You know, because I ran off with somebody's pack. You know, I ran off with somebody's pack. Yeah, you can make some money. I remember you in the hood. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I ran off with his pack.
Yeah.
The next time he gets up to me, boop, and I fell out. Whole half of my body for a whole probably year just went numb. You know, and I got back together again, you know, but I kept still running.
Yeah.
And all I was running from is a whole bunch of pain.
And in that flight, that fight or flight time that you were in, was there anything that reminded you, like, yo, I could get out of this. I don't have to do it like this.
I remember.
While on the journey, before you got to the part where you stopped using.
So before I even stopped using, I remember coming to Worcester, and my family was here, and I was coming. This is probably like in 1989. No, 98.
Okay.
No, 99.
99.
It was around Christmas, just before the no, it was October 16th, right?
Okay.
And I remember walking down Pleasant Street, and I just had enough. But check this out.
What's up?
So, you know, I always knew God, because my grandmother used to tell me, I'm praying, Lord, please. Because I couldn't get to another one. That was just, man, come on. I'm on my hustle. Man, why I ain't come on here? This is a raggedy old town.
Right.
You were cussing everything.
Bushwick.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, man, no Vic, nothing. And, it was nothing going on, man. I was pissed. So I started praying to God, and, man, Lord, please take this away from me, man. And this cop went past me. and I got a warrant.
Mm.
So the cop turned around. I said, oh, man. He said, hey, what's your name? I gave him a fake name.
Right.
I had a warrant. And he says, that's not your name. He says, but listen, I remember your name, but once I do, you're going to be my project. I'm coming for you.
Oh,
He
shit.
says, I don't remember it. So I'm like, whatever, you know. I walked on, he left. And I'm praying to God because I still want to fix. I ain't even thinking about this guy.
Right, you worried
the
about.
The next thing, you ever heard of, you know when you hear a police car,
That,
you know,
that engine?
Yep, I heard. I said, oh, damn, this is how you going to help me like this? I said, God, this is what you going to I couldn't even run quick enough, man. He said, Mr. Taylor, I knew it. He arrested me, and I remember. And back then, South Bay, they was catching bodies.
Mm.
It was a bad jail to be in. I mean, it wasn't the inmates killing each other. It was the COs. They were...
It was turning it up on them.
Yeah. It was real bad. And I just didn't want to go back. And I got on my top bunk
Mm-hmm.
and prayed to God and said, God, man, don't let me go back to jail. Not to this one, please.
Right.
And I kept my promise for like the last 25 years to this day.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I'm still acting up. I had
a couple of relapses.
No. I didn't have a relapse. I stopped using the drugs, but what happened was I went back to my really hustle because I started off as a hustler.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I went back to that, so I had to answer that. And how that started answering, I kept going back in jail. I remember doing 2.5 on and after, and then I had to do a whole 7-year stretch in county at that.
Damn.
Sucked. That sucked.
What you?
But I did. But I did it in no. I did it in Worcester. Matter of fact, one of the reasons why I moved to Worcester is because I heard the jails
were easier.
They were easier. They had a TV in the cell. You know, if you got canteen, you're straight. They got good food. But I didn't want to go back to South Bay, and I knew I was going to go to jail because I wasn't done yet. So that was the ignorant thinking, but that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
understandable. Understand.
So, anyways, so I remember we have to do, OCC because they gave me probation after I got out and whatever. And I remember they gave me OCC, and one of the therapists came in and he said, Nancy Reagan, you should just say.
Just say no.
There you go. He says, but listen, she never told you the whole story, though. I said, wait a minute. First of all, I got to get past it just saying no. What is this, another part of it? He said, listen, just listen.
Uh-huh.
He said, she's right about it, but she didn't tell you the whole story about that. Just say no. But say no and learn how and why you're saying no.
Mm.
In that 7 minutes, give it 7 minutes of all the reasons why you're saying no. And I did that.
Okay.
He says, once that, you realize that obsession is gone. That's not to say it ain't coming back.
Right. But at least you identified it.
But now you're identifying, you're learning how to say no. You're learning to have your mind in that process of playing the whole thing out.
Right.
And that obsession is gone. He said, that's not meaning that obsession not going to come back, but do it again.
Right.
That's called practice.
Mm. Practice being your own self-identifier for self-healing.
Practicing for the next level. I'm not going to ever be perfect.
Right.
But it's getting you ready for the next chapter in your life. And that's what happened. And so as time went on, I started educating about this recovery thing. I didn't have a clue until 5 years ago about what real recovery is about. I thought just being clean from drugs
was it.
That ain't recovery.
You got to go up to the next level.
Oh my goodness, I went through.
Stop.
Nah, man. So I ended up getting some values and some character, some morals back in place that I gave up.
Right.
I used to get girlfriends, man, and turn them out.
Mm.
I used to, make all this money, drop it off to my son, and go. No quality time.
Right.
But I had to learn that. And they
Right.
took me trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, my higher power was on my side. He gave, you know how many trump cards he played with me?
This
Oh
ain't
my
no
goodness.
joke, huh?
He played so many trump cards with me. I should be doing 10 to 15 right now.
Mm. Well, we're glad you're here now.
Oh, yeah.
Because you definitely laid it
Yeah,
on us.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we said we was going to talk for 20 minutes.
I'm sorry, man. You know what?
you told me you had to go somewhere. Man.
Yeah.
But this is what we want people to understand, that
Yeah.
the journey that you're on in this road to recovery, it doesn't stop. It's not there's not a plateau to this.
This is my lifestyle, recovery, period.
Right.
Where my morals are back in place, my values are back in place. All those things that I gave up, you know, I got a purpose in life. If anything, my common purpose is to say that, yo, recovery is possible.
Right.
And I had to be taught that by Everyday Miracles. EDM Raised right here. Me. You see this guy? EDM Raised.
And that is one of the things that we want people to champion, that
Yeah.
there are, I've been to one place today that works with individuals that are part of Everyday Miracles or wherever other the mustard seed or whoever else is out here. And they are doing some things. We're hopefully going to have these guys. They're from the Technocopia people.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I know
and we're going to hopefully get them
Yeah,
on
yeah.
and talk about what they do in regards to individuals
Matter of fact,
in recovery.
we're with them where we're starting to, it's in art. They do a lot of artwork, and I'm into framing, you
Okay.
know, and I do portraits and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so, you know, and one thing that I have to make sure, because I almost got in trouble
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know what self-care meant.
Okay.
The self-care that the regular society does,
Yeah.
that normal stuff,
Yep.
I didn't have a clue what that was.
Right.
I thought it was going
Pilates
to the,
lessons or sitting in the
I
sauna or
thought it was
something.
me. I thought mine was going to the corner,
Right.
checking out a chick, and saying, "Come on, well, I got something for you."
Right.
That's
That
not,
was your self-help.
Yeah, that's not self care.
Yeah.
But I had to learn that
Right.
because that's where I came from, and now I had to go through experience, but
Right.
now I understand that experience, and I won't take it for granted. Today I respect women today.
Right. And
You know?
and that was a process
That
on
was
your
the problem.
journey.
So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's still not
Yeah.
over because
Oh, no.
I'm sure you get tested on the daily like everybody else. We all fall short of the Lord, but sometimes where we go for help
Yeah.
is a little different.
Yeah.
Where do you go now for that,
When I
that
go-
thing?
So this is what I do. I got a support network that consists of Everyday Miracles.
Yeah.
I got a mentor. He's we ran together. He knows me. He knows everything about me. Sometimes he intimidates me because how progress he went in his life.
Right.
You know, I got a church I go to.
Okay.
You know, I got therapy.
Okay.
You know, these things help me to stay balanced and to really look at all these gifts
That are coming
of
to you.
life that I don't have to survive. I thought I had to survive life, and it's given to me as a gift. I love waking up in the morning
Amen.
because I got another chance to do something different than what I did yesterday, and hoping that what I do today represents tomorrow.
Amen. That's a beautiful feeling because some
Yeah.
people don't even have that, and they haven't even been through a recovery or any road, but they are in need of that self-help.
Listen, if anything, love yourself.
Right.
Not no reckless love, I'm doing me, and don't even got a clue what that word means, doing you. You know, I
Right.
thought doing me was like take advantage of everything that's impossible.
Right.
I'm doing me.
I'm
no,
doing me. No.
I'm killing myself. That's what I'm doing. I'm setting myself
Because you don't
up.
have to do it like that.
No, I thought I was setting up for myself for another jail cell.
And that is where I'm hoping this conversation
Yeah.
leads to somebody else seeing it and not going through it.
Right.
And that's the other part of how we're living, that we want to just try to keep, I don't know, the commitment to other people and make sure that we do our part. I don't know what that would be, but we're on the journey together, and hopefully you see something in what we're doing that you want to emulate and not do the opposite.
Right. And that's my main goal, you know, to be a pillow, a blessing. My life to be a blessing, you know. And you know how when we just look at the world, we wish the world was different. It could be, I have to be that change.
You're right.
and hope that I can just get one person that because I changed my life. This guy named Mike Corello.
I think I met that guy.
Yeah, Mike Corello. He's the
ED over
yeah,
there.
he's the director at Everyday Miracles, and he was a low down, dirty, but look what he did with his life, and it inspires me. I ain't gonna be just like him, but it inspires me to be better than him. I want to walk into some establishment like that with a briefcase talking about, yeah, I'm the director.
Right.
You know, not to take his job.
No,
it
but that
inspires me
mentality is what you want. I don't have to stop here.
Yes.
He's over here.
Yeah, you know, and yeah, it takes hard work, and it takes me being honest with myself.
Right.
To look at where I'm starting and where I'm going, it takes honesty. I gotta, you know how many lies and masks I put on because where I came from?
I can imagine.
Oh my goodness. I remember, man. Oh, no, I can't go that far.
Well, we ain't going to take it there. But we want to ask you before we head out and finish up, talk about EDM Raised hospitality. How are you received in that Everyday Miracles room, building, that space?
Here's what it is. It's a place where we allow you people to come in that are dealing with life controlling problems. It can not just substance abuse.
Right.
When I came in, I was dealing with court issues. I wasn't using, but I had court issues.
Right.
You know, and I needed a safe place to be at because I can't hang on the streets no more.
Right.
I ain't had nowhere to go. And I hate being in the house by myself.
Right.
So I had to build, you know, a network of people. Yeah. And so they taught me what it is to have a community, a healthy community. You know, through some of their classes. One of the classes, you know, I had to start with anger management. I didn't know how angry I was. I was hating men all this time. Thought that I had the right to hate men. But you want to know where it came from? All that ass kicking that I got from my mother's husband. It ain't had nothing to do with you.
So it had to do with your 12 or 13-year-old self.
And so here I am in Everyday Miracle to get exposed to that. And that's why I say EDM Raised. It took me from that adolescence age, took me out of that to start doing adult things, being responsible, be accountable.
Right.
You know, looking at, you know, me honestly.
Right.
You know, and without no guilt, without no judgment. Because when I start judging myself, it's like I ain't got no chance.
Right.
I'm just beating myself up on a judgment. It's like, nah, I ain't worth it. No, yes, you are. Encourage yourself.
Right.
And that's how they do down there. They make it a comfortable, safe place.
For you to grow and to feel comfortable and being vulnerable in case you stumble in that growth.
Amen. That's exactly what we do down there. And so, you know, and it got to a point where I facilitate groups. One of these groups that I facilitate is called emotional wellness. Okay. And emotional wellness is talking about that anger that I dealt with. It talks about that feeling inadequate. It talks about feeling, you know, less than. Right. You know, that you know, you can't do no more. Depressed.
Right.
You know, and that depression, a lot of people don't understand how deep depression goes. I remember being so depressed, man. I thought about, you know, ending my life.
Right.
You know, that's how, and I didn't understand that depression could take you that
far down.
You know, and so when I got to EDM, they taught me about these tools. You know, how to use it, how to have, you know, self-worth.
Right.
You know, there's a lady down there. Her name is Roberta Nelson, and she teaches this class called Life Changes.
Okay.
I love her group. I want to tell you the secrets, but you got to go down there.
Amen. But sometimes that's the thing, the communal piece, becoming community with some people and sitting in the same room. And sometimes that energy is what you need. You don't need to be in a room by yourself or on a phone or whatever. You know, they try to do so many things now where you don't have to be there. But, you know, one of the things that we like is that we get to bring people into our room to talk to you about what they may need to do.
Right.
So before we leave, tell the people one thing that you want them to do. Just whatever way you want to phrase it, whatever, you know, vein of thought that you're coming from, or just share something with them before we head out.
The best thing that I ever done for myself, and I'm gonna keep this in I statement because I don't like telling people what to do because I don't know where people are at.
Right.
But here's where I say, if I could ever say anything that I've done that gave me the benefit, I had to be honest with myself and surrender. Once I surrendered, I have complete peace in my life. I surrendered. I don't have to survive life no more, always being on guard and worried about who's coming behind me.
Right.
I'm being honest about everything I do. I don't got no guilt. And if I got guilt, I got a way out of it. I'm a man enough to admit my guilt. I'm all right with who I am today. You know, so the best thing I can say, man, is surrender. That's the best word, because once you surrender, man, everything else is added. Everything else is added. It's all a benefit.
Amen to that, man. We're going to leave on that note, B. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming.
All
Brandon
right,
is
man.
here. He's going to be a part of something else we got going
Yeah,
on. We're going to
yeah.
talk about that later on, but we'll bring him back, talk about that piece, and everybody just give you a little heads up on some of the things we got going on. June 12th, we're going to be at the Leominster Library. We are reading our play, 400 Years in the Making, American Slavery on Trial, Frederick Douglass versus the Ord Family.
Mm-hmm.
You're all welcome to come. June 12th, 6:30 is the reading. Come on down, be a part of it, sit in the audience, or if you're a participant, we can talk to you about that. And July 19th, Fitchburg Riverfront Park, we're going to have the 30th anniversary of Music Mania Television and the Hip Hop Health Summit. The panel discussion at the summit will be how does hip hop affect opioid use? And then the second one is how can I be down, how to navigate the music industry. We'll be talking to you about the vendors, sponsors, and the opportunity for you to get involved. It's a free event, so come on out. June 12th is free. July 19th is free. Riverfront Park, Fitchburg. And we're out of here. Thank you, B.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No doubt. Oh, one more. He got sighted.
No.
No.
I now I remember the place that you're talking about, River. I'm thinking of
Riverfront Park,
Yeah, I know
Boulder
what that
Drive.
is. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
exactly what that
See, he already we got him.